3 months before the wedding. My fiancé brought another woman home. I thought I must have heard wrong. Standing at the entryway with my suitcase, there was an extra pair of Chanel camellia sandals by the shoe cabinet, size 39, not my size. Butler Uncle John came over to take the suitcase from my hands, his expression like he'd swallowed a fly. Miss Sue, you're back. Miss Sue, not Madam, not Mrs. Pei. They used to call me Miss Nanga. Now they've even dropped the name. I didn't ask much, changed into my own slippers, and went upstairs. The wheels of the suitcase grinding over the stairs sounded very loud, like dragging a corpse through an empty house. The door to the master bedroom wasn't closed properly. A woman's laughter squeezed out from under the door crack, carried with a studied, delicate softness. Injiao, does this nightgown look good? I specifically picked champagne. It matches your sheets very well. I didn't push the door open. Through the crack I saw Lin Ruashi, standing at the bedside in a camisole nightdress, holding a silk robe in front of her as she compared it. Her suitcase was sprawled open on the carpet. Underwear, makeup, and skincare products spread all over, like staking a claim. I slept in that bed for 2 years. The sheets were changed by Pei Yinjiao last month. He told me, change the color, change the mood. Now I understand. It wasn't the mood he was changing. It was the person. Pei Yinjiao leaned against the headboard to smoke, his robe loosely tied, exposing a patch of his chest. If you like it, just leave it there, he said, his tone as casual as if he were commenting on the good weather today. Then can I use these empty cupboards? Lin Ruashi pulled open the sliding door of the wardrobe, turned to look at him, her eyes bright. But Lin Ruashi bit her lower lip, her voice dropping. There are other people's things in these cabinets. Pei Yinjiao flicked the ash from a cigarette and said nothing. Lin Ruashi walked back, sat on the edge of the bed and rested her hand on his knee. Yinjiao, I don't want Sister Sue to think I'm taking her place. How about I stay in the guest room? There was silence for 3 seconds. Pei Yinjiao crushed his cigarette in the ashtray on the nightstand. You'll stay here, he said. Don't feel wronged. Lin Ruashi threw herself into his arms, clinging to him like a vine winding around a tree. Yinjiao, you're so good to me. I didn't make a sound standing outside the door. My hand rests on the suitcase handle, knuckles pale from the effort. My nails are digging into my palm, the pain clear and sharp, a reminder that this body still has feeling. When I turned around, I saw myself reflected in the clothing mirror at the end of the corridor. A suit, high heels, hair meticulously tied back. Today, in order to discuss the Pei Corporation's collaboration, I flew 4 hours to the city and spent an entire afternoon wrangling with the other party in the conference room. Even lunch eaten on the road with a sandwich. The contract is signed. The Pei Corporation has secured the exclusive development rights to the Southern District. I was thinking of coming back early to tell him this news, but he prepared another message for me. I dragged the suitcase down the stairs. I took each step steadily, so steady that I was a little surprised myself. Butler Uncle John was still standing in the entrance. Miss Sue, which room would you like your luggage moved to? He was asking which room, not whether to help you carry it up. It showed that even he understood that the master bedroom was no longer a place I could return to. Guest room, I said. Uncle John took the box, his eyes dodging, not daring to look at me. The curtains in the guest room weren't drawn, and there was a faint, musty smell in the air. I sat on the edge of the bed, turning my phone off and off again, as the time on the screen jumped from 9:00:10, 00 p.m. to 9:32 p.m. Footsteps sounded from upstairs, probably Lin Ruashi packing her things, lining the master bedroom vanity with all her colorful bottles and jars. I dialed a number. It connected after 2 rings, and the other side didn't speak first. It's me, I said. I know. Lucy Hong's voice was low and steady, like a cup of tea left to cool in the dead of night. Does what you mentioned still count? There was a moment of silence on the other end of the line. Are you sure? Sure. Tomorrow morning at 9:00. See you at the Civil Affairs Bureau entrance. Okay. After hanging up, I stood and pulled open the guest room curtains. The night outside was as thick as ink that wouldn't dissolve. The lights in the villa's garden were on, illuminating the tulips Pei In Zhao had specially flown in from the Netherlands. I was the one who chose those varieties. He didn't even change those, but he replaced me first. My phone buzzed again. It was a moment's post from Lynn Ruashi. She posted a selfie leaning against the master bedroom headboard in that champagne-colored nightgown with a caption of just 2 characters. Home. The location tag was Pei Family Villa. She probably forgot to block me. Or maybe she didn't forget. Maybe it was on purpose. I gave it a like. 30 seconds later, that moment's post disappeared. Maybe she finally remembered that there's such a thing as group-restricted visibility. But I'd already saved the screenshots. Put them in a folder that also contained a photo of the Cartier bracelet Pei In Zhao gave her, the hotel check-in records, and the itinerary comparisons Pei In Zhao's assistant secretly sent me. I never once confronted Pei In Zhao, not because I'm magnanimous, because I was waiting. Wait until I've completely given up, or wait for a way to leave that's ruthless enough. Now I have both. At 6:00 the next morning, I finished my makeup and changed into a red dress. Not a flamboyant bright red, but a dark red, like the color of dried blood. At exactly 7:00, I knocked on the master bedroom door. Lynn Ruashi opened the door. She was wearing Pei In Zhao's shirt, exposing a length of her thigh, and a hint of pride flashed in her eyes the moment she saw me. Senior Sue, up so early. Is there something you need? Looking for Pei In Zhao. Pei In Zhao came out of the restroom, adjusting his tie. When he saw me standing at the door, his hands paused for a moment. Something wrong. His tone was completely different from when he spoke to Lynn Ruashi. With her, it was casual. With me, it was all business. I used to think that was called trust. Only now I realize it's indifference. The company sent me on a business trip to Lincheng for about a week. I said, my voice as calm as if reading a report. Pei In Zhao frowned. How long will you be gone? Like I said, 1 week. What kind of project takes that long? I didn't answer his question. Instead, I smiled. Do you care? Pei In Zhao was choked by that remark. Lynn Ruashi walked over at just the right moment and slipped her arm through his. In Zhao, since Sister Sue is away on a business trip, don't ask so many questions. Work keeps her very busy. After she finished, she looked at me with an innocently sweet smile. Sister Sue, don't worry and go ahead. I'll take care of In Zhao at home. At home, she said at home. I stared at her face for 3 seconds, then smiled. All right, I'll trouble you with that. As I turned to leave, Pei In Zhao suddenly called out to me, Nange. I stopped in my tracks and did not look back. He was silent for 2 seconds and finally only said, take care on the road. Got it. As I walked down the stairs, I started counting in my mind. From the moment he walked in, he has said a total of 5 complete sentences to me. Something up. How long are you going? What kind of project takes that long? Do you care? Travel safely. 5 sentences. Not a single word is about begging. Not a single word says this is not right. Not a single word asked about how I feel. Great. Excellent. Pei In Zhao, since you've taken things to such extremes, don't blame me for taking them even further. I stepped out of the villa gate. The sun was dazzling. The phone screen lit up. A message from Lucy Hong. Just 3 characters. I'm here. I looked back at the house that I had lived in for 2 years. The main bedroom curtains were drawn open. Lynn Ruashi stood at the window, holding a cup of coffee, raising her cup to me across the distance. I also raised my hand to her, as if to say goodbye. Not goodbye to her, but goodbye to all the people and things in this house. That nauseated me. Then I opened the car door and drove out of the Pei family villa without looking back. The car had driven some distance when I dialed a number. Attorney Zhang, please draft the prenuptial agreement for me. I need it today. Miss Su, your wedding with Mr. Pei is still 3 months away. Won't be necessary. I cut her off, my voice as light and cheerful as if I were commenting on the nice weather today. The agreement isn't for Pei Yinzhao to sign. Silence fell on the other end of the line. It's for me and someone else to sign. Chapter 2. Retreating step by step. I didn't leave. At least that morning I hadn't left yet. After Pei Yinzhao went to work, only Lin Ruoshi and I were left in the villa. I was packing in the guest room when she knocked and came in, holding a glass of freshly squeezed orange juice. Sister Su, have a glass of juice. I just squeezed it this morning. She was wearing my slippers. They were the plush slippers I bought at the mall last month, off-white with rabbit ears. Pei Yinzhao had teased me at the time, saying I was in my 20s and still wearing such girly things. Now I saw those rabbit ears under Lin Ruoshi's feet, the plush stained with a bit of coffee. Thank you. I took the orange juice, set it on the bedside table, and didn't drink it. Lin Ruoshi walked around the guest room, her fingers brushing the curtains, the vanity, the wardrobe doors, as if surveying her territory. This room doesn't get much light, she said, her tone tinged with a condescending kind of consideration. Sister Su, are you used to living here? Otherwise, I can tell Yinzhao to clear out the sunny room on the 3rd floor for you to live in. No need. Me too. She smiled. Aren't you going on a business trip? You're only staying this one night. I didn't respond, opened the suitcase, and started stacking clothes inside. She didn't seem to want to leave. Instead, she sat down on the edge of the bed. Sister Su, actually I've wanted to say thank you to you for a long time. My hands paused while folding the clothes. Thank you for taking care of Yin Zhao these past 2 years, she said, her voice so gentle it sounded like she was stating something obvious. Leave these things to me from now on. You can take it easy. I finished folding a silk shirt and put it into the storage bag, moving slowly, so slow that I smoothed every crease before letting go. How long have you known Pei Yinzhao? Lin Ruoshi didn't expect me to ask questions. She paused for a moment before answering. More than half a year. More than half a year. It was 5 months ago that Pei Yinzhao proposed to me. He rented out a venue at a restaurant by the river, and when the fireworks overhead, he knelt on one knee and held up the rings, saying, Nuanji, will you marry me? The fireworks are really beautiful. Thinking back now, those fireworks probably weren't set off just for me. Did you know he has a fiancé? I asked. Lin Ruoshi lowered her head and fiddled with her nails, which were studded with tiny rhinestones, glittering under the light. I know, she said, looking up at me, her gaze so open it made you want to laugh. But Yinzhao said that there hasn't been any feeling between for a long time. He said it's tiring to be with you, that you're very competitive. You have to argue about who's right in everything. You never act coy and you never rely on him. When she said these words, the corners of her mouth held a faint, barely noticeable smile. He also said that being with you is like doing business, but being with me feels like being in love. I stopped what I was doing, not because I am sad. It's because Pei Yinzhao has never said these words to me. What he wants, what he doesn't want, what he likes, what he dislikes. He never says. I asked him and he said, you just decide what to do. I thought that was trust. So it turns out I didn't care after all. Are you finished speaking? I looked at Lin Ruoshi. She felt a bit uneasy because of my expression. Her smile froze for a moment, but she quickly returned to that innocent look. Older sister Su, don't be angry. I didn't mean to make you sad. I just think that since Yinzhao has already made a choice, you should let go too. Matters of the heart cannot be forced. She got up from the bed and tugged at the shirt of Pei Yinzhao she was wearing. By the way, Yinzhao said he's taking me to try on wedding dresses this weekend. You know, That wedding in 3 months. The bride has been switched to me. I finally laughed. Not a cold laugh. It was a genuinely amused laugh. Congratulations. Lin Ruashi tilted her head, probably not expecting me to be so easy to talk to. Older sister Sue. Are you really not angry? Why would I be angry? I put the last piece of clothing into the suitcase, zipped it up, and stood up to look at her. You picked up something I don't want. I'm already grateful you even came. Lin Ruashi's face changed. What did you say? I said. I lifted the suitcase handle. I don't want Pei Yan Zhou. If you like him, take him. No need to report to me. Lin Ruashi's eyes instantly reddened. Su Nuanji, what gives you the right to talk about Yan Zhou like that? Do you know how outstanding he is? Do you know how many women out there want to marry him? If you can't keep a man yourself, then don't say such sour things. She really did look pretty when she cried. Big tears streaming down. The tip of her nose flushed red. Her lips trembling slightly. I understood why Pei Yan Zhou fell for this. Are you done crying? I leaned against the wardrobe, arms folded, watching her. Lin Ruashi was stunned. Finished crying. Then get out. I want to rest. She opened her mouth, probably wanting to say something more, but my expression made her swallow her words. She turned and walked out of the guest room. When she reached the door, she glanced back at me, tears in her eyes not yet dry, but the corners of her mouth already curved into an arc. Su Nuanji. No matter how calm you pretend to be, it won't work, she said. You're bleeding inside. I know. The door closed. I sat on the edge of the bed and lowered my hands. There was still a ring on my finger. The one Pei Yan Zhou put on me when he proposed. A 3-carat emerald-cut diamond. He said he personally went to Antwerp to choose the loose stone and had the best artisans set it. I wore it for 5 months, and the band left a faint mark on my ring finger. I took off the ring and set it on the bedside table under the light. The diamond refracted a cold, white gleam, very bright, like a frozen tear. My phone rang. The message from Lucy Hung. Have you packed your luggage? I answered with a single character. Do you need me to send someone to pick you up? No need. I'll go there myself. All right, 9:00 tomorrow. Don't be late. I won't. Conversation over. Communication between Lucy Hung and me has always been like this. Concise, straightforward, not a single extra word. He's my classmate from business school and the head of the Lu Group, with a net worth more than 10 times Pei Yan Zhou's. More importantly, he owes me a favor, a very big favor. At 8:00 in the evening, Pei Yan Zhou came back. I was eating in the restaurant, and butler Uncle Zhang specially set up a private table for me. The dishes were light, all the flavors I usually liked. Uncle Zhang has been in this house for 10 years, probably the only one who still remembers my preferences. Pei Yan Zhou and Lin Ruashi were eating in the living room, separated by a sliding door. I couldn't hear what they were saying. Only an occasional burst of laughter drifted over. Halfway through the meal, the sliding door opened. Pei Yan Zhou walked in, holding a bottle of red wine. Nuanji, Ruashi said you're going on a business trip tomorrow. Let's open this bottle as a send-off for you. A send-off. After he gave our master bedroom, where we'd lived together for 2 years, to another woman. He wanted to give me a send-off. I put down my chopsticks and looked up at him. Okay. Pei Yan Zhou poured 2 glasses of wine, handed one to me, and kept one for himself. He tapped the rim of my glass, producing a crisp clink. Be careful on the way. The same words as in the morning. I took a sip of the wine. It tasted very astringent. Pei Yan Zhou, do you have anything you want to say to me? He held his wine glass. His gaze lingered on my face for a few seconds, then moved away. No. I nodded. Good. I don't have any either. He turned and left. As the sliding door closed, I saw Lin Ruashi standing on the other side, holding his arm and pressing herself against him. I drained the remaining wine in my cup in one gulp. Then I stood up and, holding the empty bowl, walked into the kitchen. Uncle Zhang was washing the dishes. When he saw me come in, he hurriedly tried to take the bowl from my hands. Miss Sue, you can just leave it there. I'll. Uncle Zhang. I put the bowl into the sink and leaned against the edge of the counter. Thank you for taking care of me these past 2 years. Uncle Zhang's hand paused under the faucet and the water gushed out. Miss Sue, I'm leaving tomorrow and won't be back. Take care of yourself. Uncle Zhang lowered his head, his shoulders trembling slightly. Miss Sue, you've been wronged. I smiled and reached out to pat his shoulder. I'm not. When I stepped out of the kitchen, the 2 people in the living room were no longer at the dining table. The stairs carried footsteps and a woman's soft laugh, going up step by step, growing more distant, returning to the guest room. The moment I closed the door, my back pressed against the door panel, I closed my eyes for a moment. 3 seconds. Only 3 seconds. Then I opened my eyes and began packing the last of the things in the room. The ring on the nightstand was still there. The light refracted from the diamond, falling onto the wooden surface, like a tear about to fall. Yet not quite. I didn't take it with me. Chapter 3. Jean Chandy woke 2 in the morning. The entire villa quieted down. Only the baseboard lights in the hallway cast a dim, yellow glow, like a tunnel leading to an exit. I walked out of the guest room with my suitcase, deliberately keeping the sound of the wheels rolling over the wooden floor to a minimum. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps, each one landing on the beat of my own heart. When I passed the master bedroom door, I paused. A faint light seeped through the crack in the door. Lin Ruashi probably wasn't used to sleeping in total darkness. I heard steady breathing from inside. 2 people. I withdrew my gaze and kept walking forward. As I went downstairs, my phone lit up. Lucy Hing sent a photo. The photo shows a key lying on a dark marble countertop. A silver tag hangs from the keyring, engraved with a single character. A second message popped up immediately after. The house is ready. Inside the 3rd ring. 300 square meters. The code is your birthday. I stared at the screen, my fingers hovering over the keyboard, not knowing what to reply. You probably guessed my hesitation, and a 3rd message came. It's not charity. When you helped me back then, you didn't ask whether I needed it either. I replied with 1 word. Okay. When I reached the foyer, I saw beside the Chanel camellia sandals on the shoe cabinet an extra pair of men's shoes. Pei Yanzhou's shoes, toe pointed outward, with slight creases on the upper. The ones he wore today. I opened the bottom drawer of the shoe cabinet and take out a car key. That white Porsche Panamera in the garage was bought by me. The model, the insurance, the maintenance, every penny was paid by me. When Pei Yanzhou said he wanted to give me a car, I said no. A car I bought myself felt more reassuring. Thinking back now, it was probably from that time that we stopped being on the same path. He wanted a woman who would act coy and rely on him, but from start to finish, I was used to relying on myself. The garage rolling door slowly rose, the car's headlights illuminating the black Maybach parked ahead. That was Pei Yanzhou's car. The last 3 digits of the license plate were all 8s. I reversed the Porsche out of the garage, and as I passed the Maybach, I rolled down the window and glanced at that license plate. Then I pressed the accelerator and drove out of the villa gates. In the rearview mirror, the house I had lived in for 2 years grew smaller and smaller, drifting farther away until it became a blurred dove light, melting into the deep night. The phone was connected to the car's Bluetooth, and Lucy Heng's call came through. Are you out? Did you cry? I froze for a moment, then smiled. No, that's good. His voice was low, with a touch of just woken hoarseness. Not worth it. Those 3 words warmed me more than all the nothings Pei Yanzhou had said over the past 2 years. Lucy Hong, MHM, after we get the certificate tomorrow, can I move into that apartment you mentioned? There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Then he laughed. Didn't I already give you the key? At 3:40 in the morning, I parked my car in front of a residential building in the city center. This is my own house. Pei Yanzhou didn't know this house existed when I bought it. It was 2 years ago. I paid the down payment with my own savings, and the monthly payment was deducted from my paycheck, not to guard against anyone, but I just felt that a woman should always leave herself a back door. Now, this back road has become my only retreat. The elevator climbs to the 22nd floor. Fingerprint unlock to open the door. A 60 square meter, one-bedroom apartment. The curtains are light gray, and the sofa is a deep green velvet I picked myself. All the furniture is covered with dust sheets, like gifts waiting to be unveiled. I lift the dust sheet off the sofa, sit down, and open the photo album on my phone. The first photo was taken on the day Pei Yanjiao proposed. Fireworks burst overhead as he dropped to one knee, holding up a ring. I stood facing him, with both hands over my mouth, eyes brimming with tears. The photo was a candid shot taken by a restaurant server. The angle was perfect, the lighting just right, like a movie poster. The second photo was taken the day we moved into the villa. He stood at the door and reached out his hand to me, saying, "Welcome home." The third photo was taken on his birthday. I cooked him a table full of dishes, and when he blew out the candles, I secretly photographed one. The candlelight reflected on his face. Warm yellow, very good looking. I turned them over one by one. When I reached the last photo, my finger hovered over the screen, lingering for a long time. The last photo shows today's date. In the photo, the seam at the entrance to the master bedroom is visible. Lin Ruaishi is wearing a champagne-colored nightgown and sits on the edge of the bed, while Pei Yanjiao leans against the headboard smoking. I didn't capture that scene, but my eyes remembered it. I selected all the photos in the album and hit delete. The system popped up a dialog box. Delete 321 photos for sure. Confirmed. The screen flashed, and the photo album turned blank. Then I opened the contacts and found Pei Yanjiao's name. The profile picture was a side profile shot of him that I had taken on a weekend afternoon. Sunlight streaming through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Him leaning on the sofa, reading documents. His side profile strikingly handsome. I tapped it and pressed delete contact. The system popped up another dialog box. Are you sure you want to delete the contact Pei Yanjiao? Confirmed. WeChat. Delete. Weibo. Unfollow. Alipay friend. Delete. His shipping address in the shopping app. Delete. The record of the dishes he often orders in the takeout app. Delete. I spent 40 minutes scrubbing Pei Yanjiao from every corner of this phone, like erasing a miswritten character with an eraser. At 5:00 in the morning, I leaned on the sofa and closed my eyes for a moment. When I opened them again, the sky outside had brightened. I washed my face, reapplied my makeup, and changed into a new outfit. Not the dark red dress from yesterday, but a white shirt with black suit trousers, sharp and businesslike, as if I were about to sign an important contract. Before heading out, I stood in front of the full-length mirror in the entryway and took a look at myself. 26 years old, skin in pretty good shape, no bloodshot eyes, and the corners of my mouth could curve into a full arc. Good. The Civil Affairs Bureau opens at 9:00. I arrived 20 minutes early. There were a few couples lined up at the door, some holding hands, some whispering, the girls holding flowers in their hands, the boys in sharp suits. Everyone wore the same expression, the mix of anticipation and nervousness about the future. I stood at the end of the line, with no flowers in my hand and no one beside me. The phone rang. It's Pei Yanjiao's phone. I picked up without speaking first. "Nuanji, where did you go?" His voice had a morning after nasal tone. "The butler said you left at dawn. On a business trip," I said, leaving for a business trip at dawn to catch a flight. There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then I heard Lin Ruashi's voice come from the background, soft and sleepy. "Calling. Yanjiao. Who is it?" "Nothing. You go back to sleep." Pei Yanjiao's voice grew distant, probably speaking with his hand over the receiver. Then he went back online. "Nuanji, did you go into the master bedroom yesterday?" "No." Then who put the ring on the bedside table. I leaned against the stone pillar at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau and looked up at the sky. The weather was great today. Not a cloud in sight. Perfect for getting married. I'm the one who took it off. Pei Yanjiao's voice rose a pitch. You took off the ring. Yeah. Su Nuanji. What do you mean? Nothing much. I said. The ring is too tight. It's uncomfortable to wear. That cost me 3 million. I know. I cut him off. So save it for your next fiancé. No need to thank me. There was a dull thud from something hitting the ground on the other end of the line. Su Nuanji, you come back to me right now. I can't come back. I'm boarding now. You dare. I hung up the phone. Then I turned it off. At exactly 9:00, a black Rolls-Royce pulled up at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. The car door opened, and Lucy Hong stepped out. He wore a dark gray suit without a tie, the top 2 buttons of his shirt undone, exposing a glimpse of his collarbone. His hair wasn't as neatly combed as usual, a few stray strands falling over his forehead, making him look much softer than usual. He walked up to me, bowing his head to look at me once. Have you been waiting long? 20 minutes. Traffic jam. When he said those 2 words, his expression was a little unnatural, like someone not used to explaining, forcing out an explanation. I couldn't help laughing. Lucy Hong, you look pretty cute when you're stuck in traffic. He glanced at me without speaking, but the tips of his ears turned red. Let's go. He tilted his head toward the Civil Affairs Bureau's main gate. Wait a moment. I took out 2 documents from my bag. Sign these before we go in. Lucy Hong took them, flipped through 2 pages, raised an eyebrow. Prenuptial agreement. MHM, separate property. Separate debts after marriage. Whatever's under each person's name belongs to that person. If we divorce, we won't divorce. I looked up at him. He closed the agreement and handed it back to me. I won't sign this. Why? Because it's unnecessary. He looked into my eyes. His voice not loud, but every word felt like a nail hammered into stone. When Lucy Hong gets married, I have no plan to divorce. The sunlight shone in from the side, casting half bright and half dark shadow across his face. I suddenly felt that the weather today was really good. The agreement still has to be signed. I said, this isn't a question of trust or not. It's about rules. Lucy Hong looked at me for 3 seconds, then reached into his jacket pocket, pulled out a fountain pen, flipped to the last page of the agreement, and wrote his name in the signature line. The handwriting was heavy, the strokes piercing through the paper. He handed the agreement to me. Your turn. I signed the 3 characters. Then he folds the agreement and puts it into his pocket. I'll keep this. We'll take it out and burn it on our golden wedding anniversary. I couldn't hold it in and burst out laughing. Golden anniversary. You'll be over 70 by then. What? He turned his head to look at me. Afraid I'll be old. No. I put away my smile and looked at him seriously. I'm afraid you'll regret it by then. Lucy Hong didn't answer that. He reached out to push open the Civil Affairs Bureau's glass door, turned sideways, and let me go in first. The moment the door closed behind us, I heard him say something, his voice so low it was almost drowned out by the clamor in the hall. The one who regrets won't be me. Chapter 4. Getting the certificate in 10 minutes. There was a line in the Civil Affairs Bureau hall. Lucy Hong didn't line up. He took me straight to a side door with a sign that read VIP registration room. A uniformed staff member stood at the entrance and snapped to attention the moment he saw Lucy Hong. Mr. Liu, please come in. Everything's ready for you. I glanced at Lucy Hong. Did you arrange it in advance? Yes. When is it? After you called yesterday. The registration office was small but tastefully arranged. A red double happiness character hung on the wall. A white lace tablecloth covered the desk, and a vase held a bouquet of white roses. Sunlight streamed in through the floor-to-ceiling window, bathing the whole room in a warm yellow. A middle-aged woman wearing glasses sat behind the desk, with 2 blank marriage certificates laid out in front of her. Mr. Lu, Miss Sue, please sit. We sat down. She pulled out a red velvet tray from the drawer, and on it were 2 plain band rings. This was sent by Mr. Lu yesterday. You 2 can try the sizes first. I picked one up to take a look. Platinum, the inner band engraved with 2 characters. One side Lu, the other side Sue. Not a flamboyant vow, just 2 surnames, like 2 puzzle pieces fitting together. Does it fit? Lucy Hong asked. I slid the ring onto my ring finger. It was a perfect fit. How did you know my size? He didn't answer, just put on his own ring as well, then reached out his hand, palm up hand. I put my hand on top. His fingers closed, enclosing my entire palm. His palm was dry and warm. The grip not strong, but very steady. The staff member smiled. You 2 can fill out the form first. The form was simple. Name, gender, date of birth, ID number, marital status. My pen paused when I reached the marital status section. First marriage. 26, first marriage. 3 months ago. I was still preparing for another wedding. Now I'm sitting here, filling out a marriage registration form with a different man. Life is truly amazing. After we finished filling out the forms, the staff member picked up the 2 marriage certificates, affixed the photos, and stamped them with the seal. The sound of the seal coming down was very crisp. A clear quota. Congratulations to you both. You are now legally husband and wife. Lucy, and took the 2 marriage certificates, glanced at them, and handed one of them to me. Keep it safe. I took it, opened it, and looked in the photo. I was wearing a white shirt. He was in a dark gray suit. Neither of us was smiling exaggeratedly, just slightly upturned at the corners of our mouths. For some reason, though, this photo looked more comfortable than any photo I had ever taken with Pei Yanzio. As we walked out of the registration office, I took out my phone and checked the time. 10:09. It took exactly 10 minutes from the moment we went in to the moment we came out. The couples lining up in the lobby were still waiting, some yawning on the benches, some glued to their phones, some soothing, rambunctious kids. No one noticed us coming out of the VIP passage. No one knew that this woman in a white shirt had just completed a marriage in 10 minutes, standing on the steps at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau. I took a deep breath. The air smelled of osmanthus, drifting from who knows where. Hungry. Lucy Hin stood me with his hands in his pockets. His tone as casual as if he were asking about the weather. A little, what do you want to eat? Soy milk and fried dough sticks. He looked down at me, a slight movement at the corner of his mouth, probably finding this answer a little surprising. I thought you would say dim sum or Western food. I just want to eat soy milk and youtiao today, I said. He nodded, opened the car door for me, then went around to the driver's seat. After starting the engine, he steered into a narrow alley. After less than 5 minutes' drive, he stopped in front of an unremarkable breakfast shop. The storefront is very small, with a few folding tables set up at the door, filled with people eating breakfast. The fried dough sticks hissed as they fried in the pot. The steam from the large iron barrel rose up, and the whole alley smelled of soybeans. Lucy Hin took off his suit jacket and draped it over the back of a chair, rolled up his shirt sleeves, and called to the owner, 2 bowls of soy milk, fried youtiao, and 2 tea eggs. The owner turned and, seeing it was him, was momentarily stunned. Oh, President Lu, what brings you here today? Bringing someone to have breakfast, he said, pulling open the stool in front of me. The boss's gaze swept across my face, and then he smiled so much that his eyes narrowed into a slit. Okay, you sit there. It will be ready soon. The soy milk came steaming, with a thin film of soy skin clinging to the rim of the bowl. The fried dough sticks were just out of the wok, golden yellow, the crust so crispy it crumbled. I tore the fried dough into pieces and dumped them into the soy milk, watching as they slowly soaked up the milk and softened. Lucy Hin, you said you owed me a favor. Does this count as paying it back now? His hand paused as he peeled the tea egg. No, what's that? He put the peeled tea egg into my bowl. Bits of tea clung to the egg white, releasing the aroma of star anise and cinnamon. I'll owe you that favor for a lifetime. This, he paused, is something I want to do myself. I didn't ask any more. I lowered my head and took a sip of soy milk. It was sweet. Sweet in just the right way. After breakfast, Lucy Hin saw me to the building of that 300 square meter apartment. The code is your birthday. Year plus month and day. 6 digits. He handed me the keys. Everything inside has been tidied up. Tell the housekeeper if anything's missing. And you're not living here. He glanced at me. You want me to live here? I was stumped by the question. Lucy Hin shoved the key into my hand, his fingertip brushing against my palm. Take your time. You stay there for now, and tell me when you've made up your mind. He turned around, got into the car, and the Rolls-Royce engine rumbled softly before driving out of the community gate. I stood still, holding the key in my hand, the silver plate on the key ring flashing in the sunlight. On it was engraved a character for Lou. The elevator reached the 28th floor. I entered the code. The lock clicked softly, and the door opened. The foyer light came on automatically. A warm yellow glow filled the hallway. I took off my shoes and walked in, barefoot on the floor, stepping slowly inward. The living room's floor-to-ceiling window occupied an entire wall. The curtains were light gray linen. Wind blew in through the half-open window, causing the fabric to ripple. The sofa was deep blue velvet, and on the coffee table sat a pot of phalaenopsis orchids with pale purple petals, still dotted with droplets of water. There is a white envelope on the dining table. I open the envelope, and inside are a black bank card and a note. There's only one line on the note, in Lucy Hin's handwriting. The password is the same as the door lock. Buy whatever you want. No need to save. I folded the note, put it back in the envelope, and then I put the bank card back as well. Before I walked into the bedroom. The bed in the bedroom is large. The bedding is white, and on the pillow lies a neatly folded set of satin pajamas. I picked it up to check the tag. It's my size. There is a photo frame on the nightstand. In the photo are me and Lucy Hong. That was taken at the business school's annual party 3 years ago. I was standing by the window in an evening dress, drinking, and he walked over from behind. I don't know if it was intentional or not, but the photographer's lens framed us together in the photo. I didn't look at the lens, and neither did he. We were each looking in different directions, but we stood very close, so close that the hem of my skirt brushed against the bottom of his pants. When did he keep that photo? I set the frame down, walked to the window, and drew the curtain. The view from the 28th floor is wide open, with half the city's outline in sight. Sunlight pours in, falling on the plain band ring on my ring finger. The inside of the ring is engraved with the character. I turned the ring, my fingertip rubbing over that character. My phone rang just then. Not my phone. It's the backup phone in my bag. There's only one number saved in that phone. Pei Yan Zio's assistant. I answer. Ms. Su, Mr. Pei is going crazy looking for you. He asked me to check your flight, but none of the airlines have any record of your ticket. Ms. He also had me check your hotel reservation, and there wasn't one. Ms. Su. The assistant lowered their voice. President Pei is smashing things in his office right now. He said, if you dare not come back. Hill, what did he do? I leaned against the windowsill, looking at the city. Outside the window, he just threw away everything you left in the villa. I let out a small laugh. Tell him to throw it all away, but your belongings. The things I take with me are the ones that are mine. I said, whatever's left there is what I don't want. After hanging up, I turned off the backup phone as well. Then I lay down on that big bed and closed my eyes. There was a faint hint of cedar on the sheets, probably from the detergent, or maybe from Lucy Hin himself. I buried my face in the pillow and took a deep breath. My heartbeat was slow and steady. It wasn't like back in the Pei family's villa, when every sound from the master bedroom upstairs made my heart race and flutter. like a bird trapped in a cage. It's different now. The cage was open. The bird flew away. Chapter 5. Complete loss of contact. Pei Yanzio realized something was wrong on the third day. I later learned everything that had happened over those 3 days from Uncle Zhang. He told me on the phone in a strained voice, trembling, as if describing a catastrophe he had witnessed with his own eyes. On the first day, Pei Yanzio didn't look for me. He went to work as usual, attended meetings as usual, and as usual had Lin Ruashi bring him the homemade bento at lunchtime. Lin Ruashi took a dozen selfies in the elevator of the Pei Corporation building and posted each one on her moments, alternating captions from bringing lunch for my husband to the daily life of a virtuous wife and good mother. That evening, he took Lin Ruashi to have French food at the Michelin 3-star restaurant he had promised to take me to. I had tried to book it 3 times and failed, but he sorted it out with a single phone call. Lin Ruashi photographed the red wine, the steak, the dessert, the hand of Pei Yanzio cutting the steak, and the night view outside the window, filled the 9 grid and posted it to Moments. The caption read, "Being with the right person. Every day is an anniversary." Uncle Zhang said that Pei Yanzio drank quite a bit that night. When he was going home, Lin Ruashi steadied him up the stairs. When they passed the guest room door, he paused. "Did Nanji call today?" Lin Ruashi said no. Pei Yanzio stared at the closed door of the guest room for a few seconds. Then Lin Ruashi pulled him upstairs. The next day, Pei Yanzio started looking for me. He called my mobile. It rang. Then it was off. He sent a WeChat message. A red exclamation mark appeared before the message. He had his assistant check my itinerary. The assistant scoured all the airlines and hotel systems and couldn't find a single record related to me. He began to get irritated. Uncle Zhang said he paced back and forth in the living room for a long time, clutching his phone and dialing my number over and over, each time met by the mechanical female voice repeating, "The number you have dialed is switched off." Lin Ruashi came downstairs in a slit dress, holding a glass of milk. "Yanzio, stop it. She's a grown woman. How could she just vanish? Maybe she just wants some time alone." Pei Yanzio turned to glance at her. "Shut up." The milk cup in Lin Ruashi's hand wobbled and almost spilled. "Yanzio," I said, "shut up." That was the first time Pei Yanzio spoke harshly to Lin Ruashi. Uncle Zhang said Lin Ruashi's complexion at the time was like a slap in the face, but she quickly recovered, set down the milk cup, walked to Pei Yanzio's side, placed her hand on his arm, and her voice was as soft as melted cream. "Sorry, I was worried about Sister Sue, too. If she's out alone somewhere. What if something happens?" Pei Yanzio did not push her hand away, but he also did not look at her. He stared at the red exclamation mark on his phone screen, typed a line in the message box with his thumb, then deleted it, deleted and typed another line, and finally threw the phone onto the sofa. Find her friends' contact information. Call them one by one. The assistant did it. All my friends' replies were about the same. "Nanji, isn't she with you?" "I don't." "No, she hasn't contacted me recently. Maybe she's on a business trip. She'll be back in a few days. No one knows where I am because I didn't tell anyone." On the third day, Pei Yanzio went crazy. He had his assistant check the surveillance at the villa. On the surveillance, at 2:00 in the morning, I walked out of the guest room carrying my suitcase. I paused for a second as I passed the master bedroom door, then went down the stairs without looking back. The foyer light flickered on and off. The garage shutter slowly rose, and a white Porsche drove out the gate, its tail lights dragging 2 red streaks through the night, growing farther and farther until they vanished at the edge of the frame. Pei Yanzio watched that footage many times. Uncle Zhang said he sat at the study computer replaying it over and over as if searching for some clue. He saw the second I paused by the master bedroom door. He saw my straight back as I walked down the stairs. He saw the action of me opening the shoe cabinet drawer and taking the car keys. He saw at the moment the Porsche drove out of the gate, my profile flashing in the rearview mirror. No tears, no hesitation, no looking back. Then he had people turn the guest room inside out. The wardrobe was empty. The vanity was empty. There was nothing on the nightstand except a glass with half a cup of water left in it. The 3-carat ring sat on the nightstand in the master bedroom, diamond facing up, refracting a cold white light under the lamp. A slip of paper was pressed beneath the ring. There were only 5 words on the note. I don't want you anymore. It was printed, not handwritten. I deliberately used a printer because handwriting carries emotion, while printed words are as cold as a contract. Payen, je crumpled the note into a ball, then smoothed it out, then crumpled it again. The paper wrinkled in his palm. When he opened it, the writing had already blurred. The ink spread by the sweat in his hand. Find her for me. He slapped the note onto the table, his voice hoarse like sandpaper and sheet metal. Search the whole city if you have to. Bring her to me. The assistant asked, Mr. Pei, should we call the police? Payen, je was silent for a long time. Call the police for what? He said, his voice suddenly dropping. She isn't missing. She left. He finally said it. She left. Not kidnapped. Not an accident. Not missing. She simply packed her bags, took off her ring, and drove away from his life at 2:00 in the morning. Clean and thorough. Meanwhile, I was in Lucy Hong's 300-square-meter apartment, curled up on a deep blue velvet sofa, a cup of hot tea at my feet, and a file in my hands. The file had been delivered by Lucy Hong's assistant. The cover read Pay Group South City Project Analysis Report. I opened to the first page, densely packed data and charts, each item pointing to the same conclusion. The Pay Group's investment in that plot in the South City carried huge risk hazards. That plot was the one I had negotiated during my business trip. Pay thought that securing the exclusive development rights meant he'd won. He didn't know there was a planned subway line beneath that plot of land. And according to the municipal plan, the subway station's entrances and exits would occupy exactly 1/3 of the project's area. Once the plan was made public, the Pay Corporation's development proposal would have to be completely scrapped and redone, and the billions invested up front would all go down the drain. I spotted this issue at the negotiating table. I didn't tell Payen because that night I stood outside the master bedroom with my suitcase, and I heard him tell Lin Ruoshi, "Don't feel wronged." The doorbell rang. I set the files down to answer the door, and Lucy Hong stood there holding 2 bags. Dinner. He lifted the bags and shook them, and a scent of garlic and chili drifted out. The signature dish from the Sichuan restaurant downstairs. Do you eat spicy food? Something to eat. He changed into slippers and came in. When he passed through the living room, he saw the documents on the coffee table and paused for a moment. Been reading it. Mum, any ideas? I took the bag from his hand and walked toward the kitchen, pouring the vegetables into a plate while saying, Payen, je didn't do geological surveys when he signed this land, nor did he consult municipal plans. He only looked at the location and price and thought it was cheap. So he took it. Lucy Hong leaned against the kitchen door frame, arms folded. So you didn't warn him at the time. Why should I remind him? I served the fish in chili oil, still bubbling. He's so smart. He'll figure it out himself. Lucy Hong smiled a little. That was the first time I heard him laugh out loud. Not a polite smile. He was really amused, his eyes curling, a hint of fong showing at the corner of his mouth. You're harsher than I imagined. Sunangu, thank you for the compliment. We sat down face to face to have dinner. Boiled fish was very spicy. It brought tears to my eyes, but I still couldn't stop eating. In the middle of eating, Lucy Hong's phone rang. He glanced at the caller ID and then turned the screen toward me so I could see caller. Payenja. Answer it, he asked. I picked up a piece of boiled fish with my chopsticks and swished it through the chili oil. Answer. Lucy Hong pressed the answer button and turned on the speakerphone. Pei En's voice came through the phone, hoarse as if it had been scraped by sandpaper. Lucy Hong, I need to talk to you. Speak. You know Su Nango, right? You were classmates in the business school. Has she contacted you? Lucy Hong glanced at me. I picked up a piece of fish and put it in my mouth, then nodded at him. She has. The other end of the line suddenly fell silent, followed by Pei En's rapid breathing. Where is she? Do you think I would tell you? Lucy Hong. Pei En's voice suddenly rose. She is my fiancé. Is that so? Lucy Hong's voice was calm. Then why would your fiancé move out from your house in the middle of the night? Silence fell on the other end of the line again. It was silent for a long time, so long that I thought Pei En had hung up. Then his voice rang out again, this time much lower, as if something were pressing on it. What did she say to you? She said she doesn't want you anymore. After saying this, Lucy Hong reached out and hung up the phone. Then he turned the phone over and placed it face down on the dining table. Eat. I lowered my head and looked at the boiled fish in my bowl. The red oil reflected the overhead lights, glittering. Lucy Hong, do you think he'll find his way here? He won't. Lucy Hong put a chopstick's worth of fuchi fipian into my bowl. Even if he did, he wouldn't dare come in. Why? He looked up at me. The warm yellow light above the dining table reflected in his eyes. Because here we do not bear the surname Pei. Chapter 6. Return to a new identity. 1 week later, I stayed in Lucy Hong's house for an entire 7 days. In these 7 days, I turned off all social apps, switched to a new SIM card, slept until I woke up naturally every day, and sat in the sun by the floor-to-ceiling window on the 28th floor reading and drinking tea. Lucy Hong came to dinner every night, sometimes with takeout, sometimes cooking himself. His cooking skills are unexpectedly good, and his braised rib meat is especially delicious. On the 7th night, he brought one more thing, an invitation card on deep gray cardstock. Silver letters are embossed, and the cover bears the words, Everlasting Love Charity Night. The organizer is a foundation under the Lu Group, and the venue is the banquet hall of the Joyful Hotel, with the event set for the night after tomorrow. Do you want to go? He placed the invitation on the coffee table. I picked it up and flipped it open to take a look. On the guest list page, there were many familiar names printed. Pei En's name was also on it, with the note beside it, accompanied attendance. Accompanied. The accompanying person is Lin Ruoxi. Did you arrange this? Lu Yen sat down on the sofa, legs crossed, as casual as if he were talking about something trivial. The charity gala is held every year. We just added the Pei family to the invitation list this year. Why? Because I want to see. He looked into my eyes. Do you want him to see? Let me appear before Pei En as Mrs. Lu. I do, I said. He smiled, then took a dark blue velvet box from his suit pocket and placed it beside the invitation. Then put this on. I opened the box. Inside is a necklace with a pear-shaped sapphire pendant, encircled by a ring of small diamonds. Under the light, it reflects a deep blue glow, as if a small piece of the night sky were locked inside. Below the necklace is a pair of stud earrings, also sapphire with small diamonds. It's too precious. Mrs. Lu's jewelry can't be cheap. He stood up, picked up the necklace, and put it around my neck from behind, gently laying the chain on my collarbone and fastening the clasp. His finger brushed the skin at the nape of my neck. Cool, but the spot where he touched instantly warmed. I'll pick you up at 7:00 the night after tomorrow. On the night of the charity gala, I wore a black velvet evening gown with a neckline that just revealed the sapphire necklace. My hair was pinned up, exposing the sapphire studs on my earlobes. The person in the mirror didn't look like me, not because of makeup and clothes, because of my eyes. When I used to stand next to Pei Enja, my gaze was always a bit cautiously flattering. Before the banquet, I would repeatedly confirm whether my attire was appropriate and whether it would embarrass him in front of our partners. When taking photos, I would deliberately lean toward him, hold his arm, and show a standard smile. At that time, I was Pei Eng's fiancé. I am now Lucy Hong's wife, not an accessory, not an ornament, someone who stands by his side. At 7:00 sharp, Lucy Hong appeared at the door on time. He wore a full, black, three-piece suit with a deep blue tie that perfectly echoed my sapphire. His hair was combed neatly, revealing a full forehead, and the whole person looked as if he had stepped out of a magazine cover. The moment he saw me, his gaze paused for a moment on me. "Do I look good?" I turned around. "Good looking," he said, then held out his hand. I hooked my arm through his, and we stepped into the elevator together. The mirrored walls reflected our silhouettes. He was half a head taller than me. I held his arm, my skirt brushing against his trouser leg, just like that photo from 3 years ago. The Grand Hyatt's ballroom was ablaze with light. A red carpet ran along the entrance, with reporters standing on either side and camera flashes going off in rapid succession. When the ushers saw Lucy Hong, they immediately came forward to greet him. "Mr. Lu, this way. Please, your seat is at the head table." And my date. The staff member's gaze landed on my face, and he froze for a moment. "And this is my wife." Lucy Hong's voice was not loud, but the reporters nearby all turned their heads at once. I could feel those cameras all aimed at us at the same time. "Mrs. Lu." The staff members' expressions almost collapsed. "Sir Lu, are you married?" Mum, it happened a few days ago." Lucy Hong wrapped an arm around my waist, gently guiding me closer to him. "Please add my wife's name to the seating card." When we walked into the banquet hall, there were already quite a few people seated inside. The main table was in the center with flowers and nameplates on it. Lucy Hong's seat was in the middle, and the nameplate beside it had just been handwritten on, the ink not yet dry. "Mrs. Lu." Everyone's eyes fell on me. "Who is that? When did Lucy Hong get married? I haven't seen her before. Which family's young lady is she? Wait, isn't she the one who used to be with Pei Yan Zhao? Seems like it's her. Sue, what was her name again?" I sat down calmly beside Lucy Hong. He helped me pull out a chair, and only after I was settled did he sit down himself. The motion was natural, but everyone could tell that this wasn't chivalrous etiquette, but habit. There was another commotion at the entrance of the banquet hall. Pei Yan Zhao had arrived. He was wearing a dark gray suit, his face a bit haggard, visible even from a distance. Lin Ru, she had her arm linked through his, wearing a champagne-colored fishtail dress with a string of pearls around her neck. She beamed brightly, striking poses at every angle for the reporters' cameras. Then her gaze swept over the head table, passed by Lucy Hong, and finally settled on me. Her smile froze. Pei Yan Zhao also saw me. He looked as if he'd been nailed to the spot across most of the banquet hall. I watched his expression shift from shock to confusion, from confusion to anger, and then from anger to a kind of bewilderment I had never seen before. He opened his mouth. No sound. "Lin Ru," she tugged at his arm. "Yan Zhao, our seats are over there." Pei Yan Zhao didn't move. He shook off Lin Ru's hand and walked toward the head table. His steps were quick, and his leather shoes struck the marble floor with a rapid, urgent clatter. He stopped when he walked up to me. "Su Nanshi." I lifted my head and looked at him. "Long time no see. President Pei. Mr. Pei. Not Yan Zhao. Not Pei Yan Zhao. Mr. Pei." His Adam's apple bobbed. "Where have you been these past few days? Why didn't you answer your phone? Why?" His gaze swept over the sapphire necklace at my throat, over Lucy Hong's hand draped on the back of my chair, and finally came to rest on the handwritten name card on the table. "Mrs. Lu." The 3 words were like 3 knives stabbing into his eyes all at once. "You're married." His voice was so hoarse it was barely audible. With whom?" Lucy Hong stood up. He was half a head taller than Pei Yan Zhao, looking down at him from above. his face completely expressionless. With me, Pei Yan Zhao's hands were clenched into fists, the knuckles whitening. Su Nanshi, you were engaged to me for 5 months and you broke up without a word. Then turned around and married someone else. His voice was very low, but every word seemed squeezed from between his teeth. Are you toying with me? When you say toying, I stood up, meeting his gaze. Pei Yan Zhao, you bring another woman back to our home. Let her sleep in the master bedroom. Wear my slippers. Use my dressing table. And then tell me, am I toying with you? Pei Yan Zhao's face turned pale. Ru, she is only staying temporarily. Does a temporary stay mean changing the wedding date to her? He froze. How do you know the wedding date? Lin Ru, she has posted on Moments. I said, the location is a bridal shop with the caption, trying on dresses day. You stand behind her, and the mirror captured your face. Pei Yan Zhao's lips moved, but he couldn't say anything. Lin Ru, she came over at this moment as well. She looped her arm through Pei Yan Zhao's, scanned the space between me and Lu Sihong, then curved her lips into a smile. Older sister Su, congratulations. I didn't expect you would find a buyer so fast. She deliberately bit the 2 characters of the next house very hard. I did not look at her. I looked at Lu Sihong. Honey, when those 2 words left my mouth, even I was taken aback. Lu Sihong lowered his head to look at me, and something in his eyes flashed. This Miss Lin says you're the next buyer. I placed my hand into his palm. What do you think? Lu Sihong took my hand, his fingertips stroking the plain band on my ring finger. Then he lifted his head, his gaze passing over Lin Rushi and landing on Pei Yan Zhao's face. President Pei. His voice was low, but the whole banquet hall fell silent. What you lost is what I begged for 3 years and never obtained. Who are you calling the next in line? Pei Yan Zhao's face completely drained of color. He looked at me, emotions I couldn't decipher surging in his eyes. Nanshi. President Pei. I cut him off. Tonight is a charity dinner, not the time to catch up. Your seat is over there. I tilted my chin toward the corner of the banquet hall. There was a table against the wall in the most remote spot with the worst view. It was specially arranged by Lu Sihong. Pei Yan Zhao didn't move. He stared at me for a long time, so long that the guests around us began whispering among themselves. Then he lowered his head and turned away. Lin Ru, she jogged in her high heels to catch up, the hem of her dress dragging a ragged arc on the ground. They sat down at the table in the corner. Lin Ruxi's face was iron blue, her lips pressed into a straight line, and the brilliant smile she wore when she first walked in was gone. After Pei Yan Zhao sat down, he didn't glance at her at all. His gaze swept across the entire banquet hall through the flowers and candlelight, through the clinking, mingling crowd, and landed straight on the head table, on me. Lu Sihong handed me a glass of champagne, lowered his head slightly, and brought his lips close to my ear. Nice performance. I wasn't acting, I said. His hand, holding the wine glass, paused for a moment. I turned my head to look at him. The crystal lights of the banquet hall cast a scatter of glimmers in his eyes. Calling you husband. Those 2 words weren't an act. Chapter 7. The dinner's first confrontation. Midway through the dinner, Lin Ru, she took the initiative to strike. The charity auction had just begun, and the first lot was an antique pearl necklace. The host stood on stage with a sentimental tone describing the necklace's origins, an heirloom of a certain Republican-era socialite, having spent many years overseas and finally returning to the homeland today. The starting bid was 200,000. Lu Sihong placed a bid of 250,000. A lady at the neighboring table raised to 300,000. Lu Sihong then raised to 350,000. At that moment, a sickly sweet voice came from the corner. 500,000. It was Lin Rushi. She held up the paddle, chin slightly raised, a smile on her lips that said she was sure to win. After raising the paddle, she deliberately glanced toward the head table, her gaze pausing on my face for a moment. The meaning was clear. This necklace was hers to buy. The host cried excitedly, 500,000. Miss Lin bids 500,000. Any higher? Lu Si-hong prepared to raise his paddle again. I held his hand. Don't add any more. He glanced at me. This necklace doesn't suit you, I said, my voice low but loud enough for the nearby tables to hear. Pearls should be round and lustrous. These beads are uneven in size and dull. Even 200,000 would be an overestimate. Give it to her. Lin Ru Shi's smile froze. The host coughed awkwardly. 500,000 once. 500,000 twice. 500,000 three times. Sold. Congratulations, Miss Lin. Lin Ru, she got the pearl necklace, but her expression looked as if she'd swallowed a fly. And next up for auction was a jadeite bangle, full imperial green, translucent like a pool of spring water turned to stone. The starting bid was 1 million. This time, Lin Ru, she didn't raise her paddle. It wasn't that she didn't want to. She couldn't. 1 million wasn't a small amount for her. And Pei Yan Zhao hadn't looked anyone in the eyes since he sat down. His gaze stayed fixed on the main table, the wine glass in his hand turning over and over without a single sip. Lu Si-hong raised his paddle. 2 million. The entire banquet hall fell quiet for a moment, jumping directly from 1 million to 2 million. This is not an auction. It's a clearance. No one increased the bid. When the host hit the gavel, his hands trembled. The jade bracelet was sent to the head table. Lu Si-hong took it, pulled up my left hand, and slipped the bracelet onto my wrist. The green of the jade contrasted with my pale skin, like a strand of spring water frozen at the wrist. This suits you, he said. I felt the temperature of that gaze in the corner suddenly rise. Pei Yan Zhao was looking at me. He wasn't looking at my face. He was looking at my wrist. Look at how that jade bangle looks on my wrist. He remembered. He remembered me mentioning that my grandmother had a jade bangle, an old mine, glassy piece, passed down 3 generations and finally lost while in my aunt's care. I said once I had money, I would buy an identical one, not for its value, but to give my grandmother some peace of mind. I told Pei Yan Zhao about this, said it more than once. Every time he says, okay, I'll take you to see it some other day. And then there was no more. Now that bracelet is on my wrist. Bought by Lu Si-hong. Pei Yan Zhao suddenly stood up. The chair slid back with a shrill, scraping sound. Several people at nearby tables turned to look at him. Yan Zhao. Lin Ru, she grabbed his sleeve. He shook her off, walked briskly to the main table, and stand at attention. Su Nan Shi. Let's talk. Lu Si-hong set down his wine glass, his body leaning slightly forward. President Pei, you're disturbing my wife during her meal. This is between her and me. Pei Yan Zhao didn't look at Lu Si-hong. His eyes were fixed on me. 5 minutes. I picked up a napkin and wiped the corner of my mouth, then stood up. Fine. 5 minutes. Lu Shiheng glanced at me. I nodded to him, signaling that everything was okay. The corridor outside the banquet hall was thick with carpet, muffling every step. The crystal wall sconces gave off a dull glow, casting alternating lights and shadows across Pei and Zhou's face. What do you want to talk about? I leaned against the wall, arms folded. Did you really marry him? The marriage certificate is in the bag. Do you want to see it? Pei and Zhou clenched his hand, then loosened it, then clenched it again. Why? Give me a reason. A reason. I tilted my head and looked at him. Pei and Zhou, the night you brought Lin Ruoshi back home, I was standing outside the master bedroom door and heard you say, "Don't feel wronged." Is that reason enough? His pupils constricted for a moment. You were outside the door that day. Yes, I said. I listened from start to finish. You let her stay in the master bedroom. Let her use my wardrobe. Let her wear your shirts. Then the next morning I said goodbye to you, and you told me, be careful on the road. The hallway was quiet, except for the low hum of the central air conditioning. Pianzo, I gave you a chance. My voice was very soft, soft as a feather falling on the carpet. I asked if you had anything to say to me. You said no. You want to say now that it's already too late. I turned around to leave. He grabbed my wrist with one hand. The grip was strong, his nails digging into my skin. Su Nanji, you can't treat me this way. We've been together for 2 years, and you married someone else in 10 minutes. I lowered my head to look at his hand gripping mine. Then I raised my head and looked into his eyes. Pianzo, you used 5 minutes to move Lin Ruoshi into the master bedroom. Compared to you, I'm slow. His fingers loosened one by one. Nanji, there's one more thing. I took my phone out of my handbag, scrolled to a photo, and turned the screen toward him. The plot you acquired in the south of the city. The subway plan was made public last week. You can take a look yourself. Pianzo took the phone, the planning diagram on. The screen is very clear. A red dashed line runs from the center of the southern city plot. Marked rail, transit line S6 planning. The location of the metro station entrance and exit happens to occupy the most core commercial complex, part of the Pei family's development plan. His hands began to tremble. How did you get this map? That piece of land is what I went to negotiate. I said, I got all the information at the negotiation table, including the municipal planning. You didn't ask me a single question before signing the contract. Why didn't you tell me? Because that night when I came home, I looked into his eyes, enunciating each word. You brought another woman into the master bedroom. Pianzo's face lost all its color. He took a step back, his shoulder hitting the wall with a dull thud. You did it on purpose. I didn't do anything on purpose. I took my phone back and put it in my purse. I just didn't wipe your butt. Haven't I already wiped enough of your messes over the past 2 years? When you were drunk, I picked you up. When your talks fell apart, I stepped in to fix things. I chose your parents' birthday gifts. And I even wrote the recommendation letter for your sister's study abroad application. I straightened the cuffs he had wrinkled, still wearing the emerald bracelet he had just given me. Pianzo, I'm not your mother, not your maid, and certainly not the decorative vase you keep in your villa. What you wanted was never me. It was a housekeeper to manage everything for you, plus a woman who can act coquettish and worship you. Lin Ruo, she fulfilled the second part. I wish you both happiness. When I walked out into the corridor, I didn't slow my steps. Behind me came the sound of something smashing against the wall and muffled thud. Heavy, probably a fist. I don't know. When Lin Ruo, she ended up standing at the corner of the corridor. Her face looked terrible, and she was still clutching that pearl necklace bought for 500,000. The strands cut lines into the spaces between her fingers. Su Nanji, you did that on purpose, didn't you? You just want to make him regret it. I stopped in my tracks and turned my head to look at her. Whether he regrets it or not has nothing to do with me anymore. Don't put on airs. Lin Ruo, she's voice sharpened. You married someone richer, and now you want to come back and trample on us. Who do you think you are? Who do I think I am? I turned around and walked toward her, step by step. Lin Ruoshi, the slippers on your feet are mine. The dressing table you use is mine. The man on your arm is the one I didn't want. She was driven back a step by me. The house you're living in now was the one I helped him choose. The bed you sleep in was picked by me. The table where you use, I brought back set by set from overseas. Even that jar of honey citron tea in your fridge, I made it myself. I stopped in front of her and looked down at her. I was wearing high heels, half a head taller than her. You're using my things from head to toe, and you ask me what I am. Lin Ruo, she's lips trembled, but she couldn't say a word. I smiled a little and reached out to take the pearl necklace from her hand. She instinctively wanted to grab it back, but one look from me kept her in place. I held up the necklace and looked at it under the light. 50 to buy this string of beads. Will Pianzo reimburse you? Her expression changed. He didn't pay. Lin Rua, she bit her lip, tears welling up in her eyes. I burst into laughter. I shoved the necklace back into her hand and patted her shoulder. Keep it well. After all, you bought it with your own money. When I turned back to the banquet hall, the smile on my face was still there. Lu Shiheng looked at me and raised an eyebrow. Is it resolved? Done. I sat down, picked up the knife and fork, and continued cutting the steak on the plate. The steak had cooled, but I didn't care. Lu Shiheng, HM, thanks for taking care of the subway planning. He didn't say a word, only swapped the steak that had cooled in my plate with the portion he had just cut. Warm. Chapter 8. Commercial hunting. 3 days after the charity dinner, trouble began for the Pei group. The first matter was that the subway plan for the southern city plot was officially announced to the public. On the morning the news came out, Pei's stock price dropped by 12 percentage points. Investors yelled at Pei and Zhou over the phone for a full 40 minutes with a concise message at the core. Did you not check the planning before you acquired the land? Pei and Zhou did not argue because he really didn't look. He trusted me too much. Or rather, he was so used to me handling these things for him. For every previous project, I was the one who rummaged through all the materials and checked every detail. He only needed to sign his name, then stand in the spotlight and accept the praise. This time he signed, and then he lost me. The second thing happened that same afternoon. Pei's largest supplier suddenly announced it was terminating the partnership. The reason they gave was very official: strategic adjustment. But what Pei and Zhou's assistant found out was that a subsidiary of the Lu Group had signed an exclusive supply agreement with that supplier the night before at a price 15 percentage points higher than Pei's. The third thing came right after. A Pei project under construction in Lin City was halted. The reason being defects in the environmental assessment paperwork. The paperwork for that project had been handled by Pei and Zhou himself. Then came the fourth, the fifth, the sixth. Within 3 days, the Pei Group's market value had evaporated by nearly 4 billion. Pei Xianbang, the father of Pei and Zhou, flew back from abroad and cursed Pei and Zhou bloodily in front of all the executives at the board meeting. Did you ruin the company for the sake of a woman? Pei and Zhou sat at the other end of the conference table, not saying a word in reply, because he really did those things. When he brought Lin Ruoxi back home, he never thought about the consequences. When he made me move out of the master bedroom, he never thought about the consequences. When he watched me drag my suitcase out of the villa's front gate, he never thought about the consequences. Now the consequences have arrived. Each move was precise and brutal, like a carefully calculated series of blows. Because it was carefully calculated, Lu Shiheng's study had an entire wall covered with white boards. They were plastered with Pei Corporation's equity structure charts, project distribution tables, supplier lists, and partner networks. Every line was clearly labeled, and every line had a corresponding plan to intercept and cut it off. These proposals were something he spent 3 years preparing. 3 years ago, Pei and Zhou got me drunk at the business school's alumni gathering. I wasn't drunk, but Pei and Zhou didn't know. He came over with a glass, saying, "Miss Sue has a good tolerance," then kept pouring cup after cup. He wanted to see me humiliated to prove in front of everyone that the woman who outperformed him was nothing more than this. It was Lu Shiheng who pulled me away from the banquet table. He pulled me to the bathroom door, handed me a bottle of mineral water, and then stood at the doorway watching, not allowing anyone to come in. That night he said nothing at all, but from that day, Pei's information began to appear on his whiteboard. Little by little, were you preparing from that moment? I stood at the doorway to the study, looking at that whiteboard. Lu Shiheng sat behind the desk, holding a red marker. Why didn't you tell me? Because you still liked him then. He put the marker down. I couldn't let you feel like I was forcing you to choose. I walked into the study and sat down on the chair opposite him. On the whiteboard, Pei and Zhou's name was circled in red marker with many lines drawn beside it, each line ending with completed. How much is left? I asked. Just one final step. Lu Shihan pulled out a document from the drawer and pushed it in front of me. Pei Group's logistics center project in the North City is their last cash flow source. If this project is cut off, their liquid funds on the books won't last more than a month. I opened the file. Inside are a photocopy of the land use contract for the North City Logistics Center and a municipal planning map. Is there something wrong with this land? No problem. Lu Shihang leans back in his chair. The land is good. The location is good. And all the paperwork is in order. Pei Yanjiao indeed made no mistakes on this project. Then, how will you end it? I'm not ending this project. I looked up at him. The desk lamp's light was reflected in Lucy Hong's eyes. Quiet and resolute, I cut off his people. The next day, the chief engineer of Pei's North City project, along with the entire technical team, resigned en masse. Pei Yanjiao offered triple salaries to keep them, but no one stayed because the Lu family gave them more than just salaries, also equity. On the fifth day, Pei Yanjiao sat alone in his office in the Pei building. Outside the floor-to-ceiling window was the busiest skyline of the city. This building was built by Pei Xingbang 10 years ago with a total of 38 floors. Pei Yanjiao's office was on the top floor. Standing by the window, one could see half the city, including the taller building of the Lu Group. The assistant knocked and came in holding a document. President Pei, the bank has replied. Pei Yanjiao did not look back. Speak. All three banks refused to grant a loan extension. The reason is, the assistant's voice grew softer. The reason is that the Pei family's business condition contains significant uncertainty, which all of it. Pei Yanjiao braced his hand against the floor-to-ceiling window. The glass was cold and the chill spread from his palm all the way to his heart. One more thing. The assistant placed another document on the desk. The foundation under Lu Group has sent a letter of intent to acquire. Pei Yanjiao suddenly turned around. Acquire what? Acquire the Qingnan land parcel, held by the Pei family, and 51% equity of the North City Logistics Center. The price, the assistant swallowed. The price is 60% of market value. 60%. This isn't an acquisition. It's bottom fishing. It's stepping on his neck to pull money from his pocket. Pei Yanjiao picked up the letter of intent and read it from start to finish. The terms were written clearly, every word radiating an air of condescension. No threats, no coercion, just a calm message. Your company won't be able to hold up much longer, and I'm the only one willing to take over. On the last page of the letter of intent, the signature line already bore a name. Lucien. The handwriting is sharp with the ink penetrating the paper. Pei Yanjiao slammed the letter of intent onto the table. Let him dream. The assistant did not move. Mr. Pei, several shareholders on the board held an emergency meeting this afternoon. They approved the intention to accept the acquisition. Pei Yanjiao was stunned. What? The shareholders voted 7 in favor, 2 against. Your father, Mr. Pei Sr., voted in favor. Pei Xingbang voted in favor. His biological father voted at the board meeting to agree to sell the company to outsiders. Pei Yanjiao collapsed into the chair. The chair was genuine leather and had been sat in for many years, its cushion bearing his shape. He had signed countless documents and made countless decisions in this very chair, and it had always been his word that counted. Now, even this chair may not belong to him anymore. The phone on the table buzzed. It was a message from Lin Ruoshi. Yanjiao, I've set my eyes on a Hermes bag, a limited edition. Could you help me buy it? It's only 800. 000. Pei Yanjiao stared at that message for a long time. Then he picked up his phone and dialed a number. It wasn't Lin Ruoshi he called. He called me. The phone rang while I was watering the flowers on the balcony at Lucy Hong's house. A number I hadn't saved popped up on my phone screen, but I was all too familiar with those digits. I pressed the answer key. Hello, Nanji. Pei Yanjiao's voice was hoarse. like a plank sanded down repeatedly with sandpaper. You were the one who told him to do it, weren't you? What did you say? Lucien, he's buying out the pay company. From start to finish. Every step was calculated. The land in the south of the city, the people in the north, the bank connections, it's all been planned. I put down the watering can and leaned against the balcony railing. Pei Yanjiao, the land in the south of the city is signed by you personally. The team in the north city you didn't keep. The bank is unwilling to lend to you because your company has problems. Every matter. It's your own choice. There was a long silence on the other end of the phone. My biggest mistake wasn't any of these, he said, his voice suddenly lowering. My biggest mistake was making you move out of the master bedroom that night. The evening breeze blew in carrying the fragrance of gardenia from downstairs. Pei Yanjiao, I said, your biggest mistake isn't making me move out of the master bedroom. Then what is it? It's that you never thought I mattered. I hung up. Then I added that number to the blacklist. Lucy Hong was standing at the balcony door at some point, holding 2 cups of tea. His call. MHM. What did he say? I took the teacup. The tea was a pale golden color with a few jasmine petals floating on top. He said you did well. Lucy Hong leaned against the doorframe and took a sip of tea. He's not wrong. Then what exactly are you calculating? He looked at me, twilight laying a soft glow in his eyes. I'm calculating you. Chapter 9. The Cruel Truth. Pei Yanjiao learned the truth on the day that the Pei Corporation was officially acquired. The acquisition signing ceremony was arranged in the same banquet hall at the Grand Hyatt, the very hall where the charity gala was held, the very hall where he saw me wearing a sapphire necklace sitting beside Lucy Hong. Lucy Hong did it on purpose. He rented the entire banquet hall and had the staff arrange the tables and chairs to be exactly the same as that day. Even the flowers on the tables were of the same variety, the white roses with eucalyptus leaves. When Pei Yanjiao stepped in, his steps faltered. He recognized it. He saw the nameplate at the head table, Lucien, and decided the one that read Mrs. Liu exactly the same as that day. Only this time he wasn't a guest sitting in the corner. He was there to sign a document handing over his company. The Pei family's shareholder representative sat on one side of the long table, while Liu's legal team sat on the other side. When Pei Yanjiao walked in, everyone looked up at him. No one stood up. Even Pei Xingbang did not stand up. The old gentleman sat in the corner, his hands resting on a cane, his gaze fixed on the table, never once glancing at his son from start to finish. Pei Yanjiao signed his name on the document. The sound of the nib brushing the paper was very light, as if something had been torn open. After signing, he set the pen down. Where is Lucy Hong? Lucy Hong's lawyer looked up. Mr. Liu won't be attending the signing ceremony. He asked me to pass on a message to you. What is it? He said about that land in the south of the city. Thank you for saving him the time of negotiating. Pei Yanjiao's hand clenched at that moment. The door to the banquet hall was pushed open. I walked in not as Mrs. Liu, but as myself. Sunansi. Pei Yanjiao stood upright, as if electrocuted the moment he saw me. South Branch. I didn't look at him. I walked to the long table and placed a document in front of Pei Xingbang. Mr. Pei, this is the original survey report for the Southern City Block. Before your son signs, this report will stay in the Pei family's archive room. Pei Xingbang picked up the report and flipped through 2 pages. His expression changed. Pei Yanjiao, the old man's voice was not loud, but the entire banquet hall could hear clearly. Have you read this report or not? Pei Yanjiao was stunned. What report? The Geological Survey report. It states very clearly that there's a planned subway line beneath this land, making it unsuitable for commercial development. This report was delivered to your office 3 months ago. Pei Yanjiao's face completely drained of color. Impossible. I never received that report. You received it, I said. Everyone's eyes turned to me. I personally put the report into the in tray on your office desk. The date was March 12th, a Monday. You came back after the morning staff meeting, and there were 7 documents awaiting your signature in the tray. This report was the third. Pei Yanzhao's gaze began to grow unfocused, as if he were straining to recall a Monday morning 3 months ago. March 12th. He murmured, repeating it. You left work early that afternoon. I said, because Lin Ruashi called, saying she wasn't feeling well. You drove to pick her up, took her shopping with you, and that evening posted on Moments a 9-photo grid. The middle one was her throwing a coin into a wishing well. Pei Yanzhao's hands began to tremble. After that, you never returned to the office. Of those 7 documents, you only signed the top 2. The other 5, including that survey report, you didn't even look through. In the banquet hall, the quiet was so complete that only the low hum of the air conditioner remained. Pei Xingbang slammed his cane onto the ground. Pei Yanzhao's shoulders trembled. For a woman, you won't even look at company documents. Pei Yanzhao didn't speak. He looked at me, a complex emotion surging in his eyes. You knew the report was in there. He said hoarsely. You deliberately put it third. Yes. You calculated that I wouldn't see it. Yes. Why didn't you remind me? I laughed. Pei Yanzhao, I am your fiancé, not your secretary. Reviewing documents for you is a favor. Not doing it is my right. If you take my favor for granted, don't blame me when I suddenly insist on my rights. Pei Xingbang stood up. The old man pointed at Pei Yanzhao, his knuckles whitening from the force. Did you hear that? You can't blame anyone else for the mistakes you made. The company was in your hands for 5 years. What have you accomplished? Which one wasn't supported by Nanji behind you. Do you think you're so capable? Pei Yanzhao's lips moved, but he couldn't say anything. Pei Xingbang leaned on his crutch and walked out as he passed by me. He paused for a moment. Misu, the old man's voice lowered. The Pei family owes you an apology. Mr. Pei, you're too polite. I said, it's all in the past. Pei Xingbang nodded and kept walking out. When he reached the door, he glanced back at Pei Yanzhao. Pei Yanzhao, when your grandfather founded the Pei family business back then, he only had 200 yuan in his pocket. You spent 5 years handing over 3 generations of hard work to someone else. The door closed. Only Pei Yanzhao, me, and a few lawyers with their heads down organizing documents remained in the banquet hall. Pei Yanzhao leaned against the edge of the table, his whole body looking as if the bones had been taken out of him. Nanji, when did you start preparing? From the day you first let Lin Ruashi sit in the passenger seat. His pupils contracted slightly. He had probably already forgotten about that, but I didn't forget. That day was our 1-year anniversary. I booked a restaurant, wore a new dress, and waited for him downstairs. His car stopped in front of me. The passenger door opened. Lin Ruashi stepped out from inside. Wearing high heels, she stumbled a bit, and he reached out to steady her waist. Ruashi was passing by, so I brought her along. He said it casually, as if he were commenting on the nice weather. I hardly ate any of that meal. Lin Ruashi sat opposite me, smiling sweetly and innocently, saying, Sister Sue, don't get the wrong idea. Yanzhou and I are just friends. Pei Yanzhou nodded beside her. That was the first time I saw Lin Ruashi sitting in the front passenger seat. Not the last time. Pei Yanzhou, I said, do you know women never leave suddenly? Every departure happens after they've accumulated enough disappointment. Why didn't you tell me? I did. I looked into his eyes. I said it many times. I messaged, can you come home earlier today? And you said you were busy. I said, could someone else not sit in the passenger seat? And you said I was petty. I said, Lin Ruashi's look at you seems wrong. And you said I was overthinking. I took out my phone, opened our chat from a year ago, and turned the screen toward him. I've kept every single thing you said. Pei Yanzhou looked at the conversation on the screen, his eyes gradually reddening. You think I don't know your phone password is her birthday. You think I don't know you brought double gifts on your business trip. You think I don't know that engagement ring was picked out with her? Pei Yan Zhou suddenly lifted his head. How did you? How should I know? I put my phone away because the sales manager at the jewelry store is my senior sister. On the card you swiped, the name signed is yours and Lin Ruoxi's. Pei Yan Zhou's body wobbled. Nanji, the fireworks were beautiful the day you proposed, I said, my voice as calm as if I were telling someone else's story. But from that moment on, the person beneath those fireworks wasn't you anymore. I turned and walked out of the banquet hall. A dull thud sounded behind me. Pei Yanzhou fell to his knees. The sound of knees hitting the marble floor was heavy, like a sack of cement falling from a height. I didn't look back. In the corridor, Lu Shiheng was leaning against the wall, waiting for me. He had changed into a dark navy suit, no tie, holding a cup of hot milk tea in his hand. The milk tea, the warmth seeping through the paper cup into my palm. He knelt down. I know. Lu Shiheng lowered his head and glanced at me. Have you softened a bit? I took a sip of milk tea. It was caramel flavored, and the sweetness was just right. No, really. I lifted my head to look at him. The corridor lights cast a thin, warm layer over his face, softening his features a little. Lu Shiheng, I said. The one on his knees is Pei Yanzhou. The one standing is you. He paused for a moment. Then he laughed. Let's go. He held out his hand. I put my hand and fingers in her lace. The banquet hall door behind me was still open. The shadow of Pei Yanzhou kneeling on the floor was stretched long by the light, dragged across the marble like a crack that would never heal. Pei Yanzhou stayed kneeling for a long time after I left. Later, the security guards helped him up. When the head of security at the Grand Hyatt reported the matter to Lu Shiheng by phone, his voice carried a kind of strange surprise. He said, Mr. Pei had knelt for nearly 40 minutes. His knees were raw, and 2 dark red stains had seeped into his suit trousers. Lu Shiheng hung up the phone and turned to look at me. He said he wants to see you. I sat on the sofa, flipping through magazine, not lifting my head, not meeting. 3 days later, Pei Yanzhou's mother, Zhou Wanqing, found her way to Lu Shiheng's company. Mrs. Pei usually kept to herself and seldom attended the Pei Group's board meetings. She stood in the lobby on the first floor of the Lu building wearing a plain cheongsam, clutching a Hermes bag in her hand. Her makeup was refined and appropriate, but the fine lines at the corners of her eyes could not hide the traces of time. When the reception called upstairs, Lu Shiheng was in the office playing chess with me. Send her up, I said. Lu Shiheng glanced at me. Are you sure? And sure when Zhou Wanqing walked into the office. The first person she saw wasn't Lu Shiheng. It was me. She paused at the doorway, her lips moving slightly, as if hesitating over how to address me. Miss Su, Mrs. Lu, or Nanji. In the end, she said, Nanji. I stood up. Mrs. Pei, please sit. She sat down, placing her bag on her knees, her hands clasped over it. Her posture was very composed, but the knuckles gripping the strap had gone white. Nanyi, I'm not here about the pay matter. She spoke, her voice lighter than I had imagined. I'm here about Yanzhou. I said nothing. Yanzhou hasn't left his room for 3 days. He won't eat, won't drink, won't speak. When I went in to see him, he was sitting on the floor beside the bed, holding a photograph. Zhou Wanqing took a photo out of her bag and placed it on the coffee table. It is a photo of me and Pei Yanzhou together, taken 2 years ago on the seaside in Qingdao. He carried me on his shoulders. I screamed in fear, and he smiled like a fool. The waves rolled in and soaked his pant legs. This photo was found among the things you left behind. Zhou Wanqing said, You didn't take it when you moved out. I don't need to take it with me. Zhou Wanqing's eyes reddened. Nanji, I know Yanzhou wronged you. He was foolish. He was blind. He was bewitched by that Lin Ruoxi. But he knows now. He knows he was wrong. Mrs. Pei, I cut her off. What exactly does he know? Zhou Wanqing froze. Does he know he's wrong? What's wrong? I looked into her eyes. Is the wrong that he brought Lin Ruoshi home? Or the wrong that he didn't realize the survey report sooner? Is the wrong that I moved out of the master bedroom? Or the wrong that I didn't expect I would really leave? Zhou Wanqing couldn't answer. He's not saying he knows he's wrong. I said, he just can't bear the price of losing. If Lu Shiheng hadn't acquired the Pei family, if the land in the southern district hadn't had problems, if he were still the high and mighty Mr. Pei, do you think he would kneel in that banquet hall? Zhou Wanqing's lips trembled, and the tears finally fell. But right now, he is really in pain. That is what he deserves. When Zhou Wanqing left, she stood at the doorway for a long time. She didn't plead any further. She only looked back at me once. Her eyes filled with a complex emotion: regret, aching tenderness, and resignation. After the door closed, Lu Shiheng picked up a black stone from the board and placed it in the corner. Check. I lowered my head and looked at the board. My white stones had been driven to a dead end, besieged on all sides. You won. You let me win. He put the chess pieces back into the box one by one. You started giving way from the 37th move. I didn't deny it. A week later, Pei Yanzhou was discharged from the hospital. He stayed in the hospital for 5 days due to severe dehydration and gastric bleeding. The consequences of refusing food and drink were worse than he had imagined. And in the end, Zhou Wanqing called an ambulance to take him away. On the day he was discharged, someone took a photo at the entrance of the Pei family villa. In the photo, Pei Yanzhou was wearing a gray sweatshirt with the hood pulled low. He had lost a lot of weight, and his cheekbones protruded. Behind him was the house I had once lived in for 2 years. The tulips in the front flower bed had already wilted, leaving only bare stems. The photo was posted online with the caption, "Young Master Pei spotted." The gaunt figure evoked sighs. Lin Ruo, she commented under the photo, "Yanzhou, I will always be by your side." 3 hours later, Pei Yanzhou deleted that comment. 2 hours after that, Lin Ruo, she posted on Weibo, "Some people don't know how to cherish what they have until it's gone, and then they regret it. Unfortunately, there's no such thing as a regret pill in this world." She probably thought Pei Yanzhou would see it, but Pei Yanzhou's Weibo account had long been deactivated. On the day he deactivated his account, he cleared everyone from his following list, leaving only one account unfollowed. The avatar of that account was a white gardenia, and the signature read, Su Nanji. He couldn't unfollow it because I had already blocked him. Half a month later, my wedding with Lu Shiheng was held at the Lu family's old residence. There were no media, no grand pomp, just fewer than 50 guests. Lu Shiheng's grandmother sat in a wheelchair, pushed by the butler, beaming at us from start to finish. After we exchanged rings, the old lady took my hand and turned it over and over to look at it. Good, good. Even more beautiful than in the photo. What photo? I asked. The old lady took out a photo from the side pocket of her wheelchair. It was from the business school annual conference 3 years ago. I was wearing an evening dress, standing by the window, with Lu Shiheng behind me. The two of us standing very close. This kid kept this photo on his bedside for 3 years. The old woman smiled, her eyes narrowing into slits. I told him, if you like the girl, then go after her. He said he couldn't. She had someone by her side. I turned to look at Lu Shiheng. He was talking with the groomsmen, the tips of his ears faintly flushed. When the wedding ended, the housekeeper brought an envelope. Mr. Lu, someone placed it at the door. Lu Shibing opened the envelope. Inside were a check and a note. The amount on the check was 3 times the purchase price of the Pei City South plot. The remark column read, "Request for repurchase at original price for the City South plot." The note contained only one line. In the handwriting of Pei Yanzhou, "Nanjia, I've bought the company back. Can you come back?" Lu Shiheng handed me the note. I took a look, then folded the note in half, then in half again, until it became a very small square. "How do you mean to go back?" Lucy Hong asked. I put the paper square into the candlestick on the table. The flame licked up, the corners curled, blackened, and crumbled into a pinch of ash. Not going back. Lucy Hong looked at me for 3 seconds, then reached out his hand. Then let's go home. I put my hand on it. His hand is very warm by the time I stepped out of the old Liu family residence. The sky had already darkened. The last streak of sunset was fading at the horizon, and a deep blue night was rolling in from the east. Someone was standing under the plane tree outside the gate. A gray hoodie, the hood pulled low. Pei Yanzhou. He lost a lot of weight. The hoodie hung loose on him, like it was borrowed. He probably hadn't shaved in days. His chin shadowed blue-black. Seeing me come out, he took a step forward. Lucy Hong's hand tightened slightly. Do you want me to handle it? No need. I let go of Lucy Hong's hand and walked toward that plane tree. Pei Yanzhou's eyes lit up. Nanji, Pei Yanzhou. I stood 3 steps away from him. I received the check. The plot in the south of the city isn't for sale. He froze. You can have as much money as you want. It's not about the money. I took a red invitation from my pocket and handed it to him. For you. Pei Yanzhou took it and opened it. Inside were my name and Lucy Hong's golden letters printed on a bright red background, full of festive cheer. At the bottom, a line of small characters is printed. Hold your hand and grow old with you. The hand, holding that invitation card, was trembling. You came to give me the invitation. Yes, the wedding is over today. This is to make it up to you, I said, voice very calm. Pei Yanzhou, you used to say I left no room for maneuver. Today I left some. This invitation card is the room I left for you. What room is there for doubt? Room for regret. He raised his head and looked at me, his eyes full of bloodshot. Nanji, I really know I'm wrong. Give me one chance. Just one. Pei Yanzhou. I cut him off. Do you know the biggest difference between you and Lucy Hong? He froze. When you told me to move out of the master bedroom, you said, be careful on the road. I said, when you told me to move into that apartment, he said, didn't I already give you the keys? The evening breeze came and the plane tree leaves rustled. One pushes me away, the other pulls me in. Who do you think I'll choose? Pei Yanzhou's tears finally fell. He knelt beneath the parasol tree, kneeling before me, clutching that red invitation in his hand, his knuckles white. Nanji, Pei Yanzhou, there's one thing you've learned in this life. I looked down at him. Not everyone who leaves will come back. I turned and walked back to Lucy Hong's side. He reached out his hand and I took it as the car door closed. I heard a horse cry behind me. Nanji. The voice was drawn out long in the evening breeze, like a wound that would never heal. I didn't look back. The car drove out of the tree-lined avenue of the Liu family's old residence and turned onto the main road. The city lights flashed by outside the window, red, yellow, blue, white, like fireworks that would never end. Lucy Hong gripped the steering wheel, his side profile outlined by the streetlight in a handsome contour. Did you cry? No. He turned his head to look at me, then reached out with his right hand and took the hand that was resting on my knee. It won't happen again in the future. I leaned my head against the back of the chair and watched the city flowing outside the window. Yeah, it won't happen again in the future. End of full text.